If you are not a teacher, you cannot post anything about IELTS or PTE. Good day guys, welcome to another video. Today we're gonna talk about a new law that it's taking place in China, not in Australia, not in any other country. It's something that basically started as, something that the government is doing to stop misinformation. I'll tell you in a second what that law is about. And I thought it would be interesting to come and talk a bit about it and let me know in the comments what you think. Apparently this topic is bringing lots of debate online, apparently. We'll find out soon. So basically, what's happening now is that in China, in social media sites like the Chinese version of TikTok and YouTube, now when there is someone, let's say like me, anyone that is talking about a certain topic, they need to prove, or like they have to show documentation or some sort of proof that they know about the topic that they discuss. This is usually with medicine, education, finance, and I think there is one more, but the biggest ones are those three. Anything related to health, education, and finance, use of money. It's not that you can just come and talk about something. I think it's interesting because on my previous video, I'll leave you the link in the description in case you haven't watched it. It's a bit long. I talk about the most important thing that anyone needs to pass IELTS, to pass PTE. And I started that video saying something that relates to this one, which is that there is more misinformation out there. I was watching Facebook the other day and on Instagram as well, and there are some videos that casually pop up on my feed of people giving advice on IELTS, giving advice about IELTS preparation, about PTE preparation, God, sometimes even like language learning tips. And I'm not gonna come up here and be a hater and say like, oh, that all the content is terrible or anything along those lines. But what I would say to you, in all honesty, is that as a teacher, a passionate language learner, and someone who took those two exams, for example, talking mainly about IELTS and PTE, I can like guarantee you hands down when I saw it, a part of me is like, this is just so wrong or so bad advice. And why do I think it's bad advice? Because literally this week I met with someone who messaged me, someone who was going through a lot, and this person told me a bit about their life story, but then this person was confused because this person received an email, or like the lawyer said, okay, you need to take IELTS or PTE, you need to have a functional level of English, and you need to do it like as soon as possible. And then this person is like, Emilio, everyone around me is telling me to do PTE, so I have been doing a bit of PTE study. I just asked casually, hey, tell me a bit about how you learned English. Tell me a bit about what you do for a living. Tell me a bit about your life in Australia. And after hearing this person, I said, hey, why don't you do IELTS? I think based on everything that you're telling me, IELTS is going to be the better test for you. By the way, before we keep going, I have to obviously remind you, I have nothing against PTE, I have nothing against IELTS. This is not to say that I love IELTS and I hate PTE, but in the topic of misinformation, there is a lot of that with PTE. With IELTS, not too much, because again, people know IELTS has this image of being a really difficult exam and it's super hard and this and that. And people are scared of IELTS. And with PTE, it's more like, oh, if you need to take a test, just memorize this template and, off you go. So I think there is a lot more misinformation with PTE, unfortunately, and people are confused, whether we want to agree this, whether you agree with me or even if you don't, and that's okay. But I can tell you because I get messages like every week, and it is something that is affecting people. Again, is it like a super serious problem? Is it like a health matter? Well, obviously not, but still, I mean, there are people who spend not only $1, $2, $3, $4,000 on taking the PT test, getting bad advice, just being told to memorize a template, and the list goes on and on, maybe going into a class and someone who's not a teacher is giving them a class on how to do the PT test. And I guess to a certain extent the same thing could be mentioned with IELTS, but with IELTS those things are not that common. So coming back to the story of what's happening in China, so we have now this debate. I think there is also something, I'm terrible with gossip and with all these things and dramas, but something similar I think happened in Mexico, not with the law, but with like an influencer who apparently got paid to say something bad about a product. And then this person lost a lot of credibility. Luckily, this doesn't apply too much for me, maybe because I'm a small creator, or maybe because the sponsor of my video is myself and you who's watching, who basically tells people, hey, I watched this person's videos, or hey, this guy is a translator, he looks like he's very lovely and professional, just message him. Maybe that's why I don't have that problem. But again, a part of me thought, wow, maybe that problem, or like that problem of misinformation in the teaching space of language learning, of, in this case, not too much language learning about IELTS and PTE, maybe if people had to have a qualification, or like if they have to show, hey, look, this is my teaching certificate, I have been teaching for X amount of years, maybe some of that misinformation would be reduced, because I don't think that everyone that is teaching PTE is an English teacher or a language teacher, I could say, and maybe with IELTS could be the same thing. It is important to also note, I don't want to sound like I'm a hater, of course there might be some people sharing the occasional tips and tricks or things that they are doing that helped them, but I feel that sometimes too much of that in the wrong way could be hurting some people. Hurting indirectly, right? Because you're giving someone bad advice about anything to do with education, in this case this exam, and this test is something serious. I remember when I had a chat with this person I mentioned before, this person was telling me, yeah, look, I'm really wondering, I'm really confused, I don't know what test I should do, because one, I don't want to do one exam a few times, I don't want to spend more money, and two, because it is important for me to stay in Australia, obviously. And funny enough, I just recently started with a student, and this person said the same thing. And I said to this person, look, based on what you're telling me, maybe you go with IELTS. And this person said, Emilio, I will be like a robot, I will do whatever you say, and I will do that, and I will study with you, because this is really important for me, and my future in Australia depends on this exam. If I don't pass this exam, all the plans, all the things I want to do will not happen. So what do you think? Do you think maybe I'm being overly negative when it comes to this new law? Do you think that maybe people should just have the right to come and talk about any topic? I guess, you know, I don't know too much in terms of like how this could affect others with health, or maybe in terms of finance. I guess, you know, especially with like cryptocurrency, or like with promoting some investments or promoting certain brands or foods, there could be a lot of problems and ethical dilemmas there. But I can definitely tell you, in terms of education, there is at least this idea that, or this misinformation I should say, that, oh, if you need to do a test that is really easy, do PTE, and it's gonna be all good, no worries. And I can almost guarantee you that it is not the case. If you're watching this, this is your sign to, if you're going to do PTE, watch the previous video, and I would say pay close attention to the third story. The second and the third stories are for you. If you are an IELTS person, I would recommend keep going, study hard, maybe check the previous video and follow student A. I was going to say study. Follow student A, because that will help you in getting that IELTS score. And if you're a PTE learner, I would highly recommend to reassess, especially if everyone is telling you, oh, just do PTE because it's really easy. Because my cousin's best friend's cousin did PTE, and this person got 70 on the first attempt. That is almost a recipe for disaster in a lot of cases, not all cases. That's why I said in this video already, I'll say it again, every case is different. Every person is different. So with these things about education, it's not like a one solution fits all. And you know, the good news for us is that in a lot of cases we have these two exams, so we have two options. And also, it is important to remind you that it is okay, totally okay, if you are a PT person, if you spend 2, 3, 4 grand, maybe try IELTS, maybe you're gonna crush it. And the same thing could be said with IELTS. Some of my IELTS people, they want, or like, because IELTS is more popular, right? You've got international recognition, etc. It is not the same if you say, oh, I've got an IELTS of 7, doesn't matter if it is academic or general. If you say, I've got an IELTS of 7.0 or 7.5 overall, it's not the same impact as if you say, oh, I've got 65 on PTE academic. It is different, right? And I'm not saying it, people say it. It's almost like, again, I'm not great with cars, but it's almost like you're driving a Mercedes versus driving, I don't know. You tell me in the comments what's a good example with cars. So yeah, what do you think about this law? Do you think it's too strict from the government, requesting people to show some proof on a topic? Maybe some people might say, oh, but just having a degree doesn't necessarily make you an expert, or might not be enough. I don't know. What do you think? And I think another thing that this law has is that whatever you mention, or not exactly whatever, sorry, let me take that back. You have to show the sources that you used, or where that information came from. You cannot just say PT is easier than IELTS because. If you do say that claim, you have to show some. I don't know how much references you would have to show, but you would need to show proof of why those claims are being made. And I guess the same thing could be said about anything else in terms of education, in terms of finance, or let's say the use of money, and of course health. What do you think? And thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget that if you want to pass IELTS, if you want to pass PTE, maybe you could come and join me in one-on-one lessons. You could study on your own on my Patreon page, link in the description. Maybe you are in Australia and you need a natty translation. Get in touch, I could definitely help you out. All my details are going to be in the video description. And every month, every now and then, I'm doing courses. Some months I don't do courses, other months I do, maybe 1, even 2 courses, sometimes intensive ones. So stay in touch in case you want to prepare for these exams. And like I said before, if you haven't watched the previous video, go and check it out now. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.